Hey everyone, and welcome back. So today we're going to be reviewing Doomsday Vault for the Nintendo Switch. Doomsday Vault is an exploration-based puzzler with some slight platforming elements. It releases today, August 5th of 2021, and it currently sells for $19.99 on the US eShop. Now, I do want to take a couple of seconds to thank the developers for the review copy of the game, and at the same time remind you all to hit the like button if you do like this content, and also subscribe to the channel if you aren't already. Now, in Doomsday Vault, you play as an unknown character equipped with a robotic suit, trying to save the last precious seeds on Earth and bring them back to the safety of the Doomsday Vault in order to grow sustainable crops. Now, the game will have you exploring sunken cities to ancient pyramids, and although it shares a lot of information on the seeds you are actually collecting, you never really get any other backstory or any other story at all other than a small prologue sequence that sets up the game. Now, the gameplay, as I said, is primarily focused around exploration, with the occasional puzzle that you're going to have to solve to basically continue your progression. Movement in the game is actually grid-based, and your movement options will always be indicated by blue dots on the field. Reason why I'm specifying that there are platforming elements to the game, but it is not a true platformer. Because other than a few trapped elements of the terrain, such as a brittle wall, the game will never actually let you walk off a ledge or fall off a non-intended obstacle. Now, movement is actually with the D-pad or the left joystick, whichever is your preference, and the controls almost feel tank-like. You can also change the direction you're facing without actually moving your characters using the top L and R buttons. You can interact with objects and also the environment using the A button, and you'll eventually unlock some abilities that you'll be able to cycle through with the B button and then activate them once again with the A button. So if we move on to the main objective of the game, it's to collect the seed within each zone that you're going to explore. However, you will have secondary objectives such as collecting nutrient canisters and also reactivating carbon eaters. And this is where the game really rewards exploration. And I would say even in your first playthrough, take the time to try to discover all these secondary objectives right away. Personally, I loved the little touch that they added that when you reactivate a carbon eater, plant life starts to sprout immediately after. It actually made me feel like the actions we were placing were actually having an impact on the environment, and I would have actually liked them to extrapolate further and tie this into some storyline points. And all this exploration will be rewarded because collecting seeds, 50 and then 100% of the nutrients in each stage will all unlock new cosmetic upgrades to your robotic suit. When you return to the vault, you can also insert your seeds into their designated incubators, making instantly the crops sprout up based on how many nutrients you collected. You can then consult the information panel to actually find out tons of information about the seeds themselves and why these plants are actually important. Now, all this makes for a really interesting and rewarding gameplay loop, backed by some really nicely designed environments and some smooth and glitchless animations. And what I would say is an extremely relaxing and perfectly fitting soundtrack, begging you to slow down and take it all in. Now, the blemishes in the game are not actually found in the gameplay itself, because the overall framework is pretty spot on. Rather, for the moment, the lack of overall content is its biggest weakness. Number one, the difficulty level here is pretty low, and that's fine. Not every game has to be difficult. However, in this case, it meant that I completed all 14 stages in about a maximum of 3 hours of gameplay. And it only took me another 45 minutes to get a 100% completion in a few of the stages where I was maybe missing 5 to 10% of the nutrient canisters. Now, to be fair, you do have a challenge mode that for some people will add an extra hour or maybe 2 to the overall gameplay. But from the main campaign itself, I was hoping for a little more. There is, however, light at the end of this tunnel. Because to be fair with the developer, when you do complete the game, you do get a screen promising that more content will be coming soon. Now, another slight missed opportunity here was I was hoping for some type of storyline, or at least some type of overall indication that our actions were actually having an impact on the overall world. Like just a quick idea that comes to mind, upon 100% completion of all the areas of a zone, I would have appreciated a small cutscene showing like wildlife returning to that zone, or as I said, some type of overall impact. But unfortunately, we don't get any of that here. Also, on the vault side of things, although bringing back a seed and seeing your crops sprout is rewarding in itself, and the extra information on the plants is appreciated, I would have loved farming-like activities to accompany it, such as maybe harvesting your crops or anything that could have at the same time extended your gameplay. Now look, overall, you still have a very carefully and nicely crafted exploration puzzler that is very approachable and relaxing to play, and the biggest downside is that I wished there was more of it. So now, on to the verdict. If this is the first video of mine that you're watching, the full scale I use is in the description of the video down below. And in this case, I will be giving Doomsday Vault a 7.5, putting it at the higher end of a good game. Now, although the framework for the game is great, the current price of $19.99 with the amount of content currently included is what gives it its score. In the future, however, thanks to a sale or additional content being added to the game as promised, we could revisit the score and bolster it. So what do you think? Are you going to be picking up Doomsday Vault when it releases on August 5th? Or are you maybe going to be waiting around for a sale? And on the way out, don't forget, as I said earlier, to hit that like button if you like the content, subscribe to the channel if you aren't already, and don't forget to hit the notification bell so you know when all my future content comes out. And as usual, I hope I'll see all of you in my next video.